Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in last video we have seen a multi-provider file, right? Like if we have a requirement to put multiple provider in the single file, so how you can put and what additional tofu will perform if he finds the multiple provider in the same file, right? Because you need to initialize the backend to work with this, right? So in last video, we have seen that we were using one is the local and one is the random, right? So when we were added this random as an additional provider, and at the time of the initialization, right, it has downloaded this random, right? So that was the thing we have discussed in our last video. But today, I will gonna main focus on the variables, right? Because so far whatever we have done is that is a kind of the hard code content, right? Like what we need, we just have hard coded in the main.tf file. Because going forward, we have that multiple or maybe the most complex kind of stuff, modules. There are a lot of things is coming, right? So before to jump into those complex world, right, we need to make ourselves understand what are all basics, how we can call it as a variable. If you are defining multiple places, same variable with a different value, then what will be the precedence? Which value will take first, which is last? So all these things we need to fix, right? So let me first let's discuss the variable block, right? And then we'll see that how we can create a variable block and how we can call those variables in our main dot file, right? So in variable block parameter, right, it is the same. We have that this provider, right? You have that resource, then you have that particular what do you call it? That provider, right? And then we have the logical name of that particular resource, right? And few parameters we need to pass. The arguments, some are mandatory and some are optional, right? Similarly, we have this variable block parameter. So here what we need to define is we need to define the default value, right? Like the default value is itself a default value, right? If you are not passing that value somewhere else, right? So what will gonna happen is it will set this value as a default value in irrespective of that place if it is not finding anywhere, right? So that's the value it will. Second thing is the type, right? So type is most important thing here. Why? Because it supports multiple type, right? Like we have this, I think string is the default data type which we can pass, right? Apart from that, we have that number, it can be positive, right? And maybe negative. And we support the boolean where we have value could be true or false, right? We can pass value as a list, right? And we can have list, we can have the map, we can have the tuple, right? That comes under as a kind of complex data structure, right? We can set some uh, very complex, right? We have defined that type as a map where we can pass the value different two statement or something, and whatever the statement is required based on your workspace, right? Yeah, workspace is a different thing. We'll discuss that as well. So based on that value will be passed, right? So this is the main three thing which you find on any of the third one is description, right? So description, as mentioned, that description, right? Description is nothing. It's just a metadata, right? Like what exactly it is, the simple explanation. It will not gonna use anywhere, right? You cannot call this value, you cannot pass that value somewhere. But just to make yourself or maybe your team understand, right? If you are creating any variable in your file or somewhere, right? And you want to uh, like uh, put some data about that variable, like why that variable was created, where you that variable is will being used, right? So all this detail you can put under the description so that it will be self-explanatory, right? Like what exactly that particular thing is doing. Okay, so that was the stuff, and yeah, I think let's start it. So I have this VS Code, right? Yeah, this is the thing which we are using for our code, right? So what I will do is I will gonna create a new file here, something called Let's say main underscore variable dot tf. Fine. This is the file I'm using. What I will do is I'll just copy the first part and paste it here. I will just give the logical name as a file 3 because file 2 is already being used, right? You cannot use in the same location. And here I will say the variable file, right? I will remove this and I would say variable file. I'm very bad with typing anyways. Variable file dot txt, and welcome to Path for Cloud. We are learning multiple or we are learning variables, I would say, right? Yeah, we are good. But now you will say, what is the difference between the previous file and this file, right? Because here also we are passing the same thing, right? Yeah, I agree with you, but I have yet to create that variable dot file, right? Let me go back to my notepad. So whenever you are creating some values, right? So what you can do is, right? You can create a file called variables.tf, right? Remember we have discussed already, right? So in this file, what you can do is you can define your variable, right? In this variable block parameter structure. And how we can call that variable in the main file, that we will see now, right? So let me create first new file 03 hyphen we need to create variables.tf. Okay, so this is the file is created, right? Now if you start your this, right, variables, right, I'm gonna start this variable. So here you can see, right, this is something that which we have discussed, that structure, right? And how it can, because I have downloaded or installed the Terraform plugin, right, extension in my VS Code, so that will help you to type all these things, right? So anyways, type is string, which is a default string I have mentioned. The default is something that the value which you want to pass, right? And the description is just the description, right? It is not something else. It's just a self metadata of that particular variable. All right. So here you can see I am using a file name, right? So what I will do is I'll just put my first variable name as a file name only, right? This is the type string. I will go and I will just remove this part from here and I will paste here, right? Now I will gonna create another variable called content, and the type again equal to string, right? And the default value, again I will go here and I will remove this part from here and I will remove double quotes, come here and paste, right? And the description is again optional, right? You can put it or you can ignore it, right? But it's just for your understanding, right? But in best practices, it is recommended to put the description if you are using a heavy variables, right? So that you will not get confused if tomorrow also you need to kind of troubleshoot, right? If you need to rewrite your code, right? So it will be good, right? You will come to know, okay, why that variable was created, why we are using it. So that will help, right? Okay, anyways, back to our content. So these two variables I have created. One is the file name and another is something called this one, content, right? So now come to our file, how we can call it, right? So to call that particular variable, right? So it's simple. You will have that keyword called var dot and then the whatever that you have name your variable, right? So in our case, I have named it as a var.filename and var.content, right? So let's save this file. Let's save this file. Clear, right? So what I will do is I will just say tofu init. I'm initializing the backend, right? But here you can see reusing the previous version of random local because we are not using new provider, right? Whatever that already present, right? It is just using previously installed, right? There is no update in this, there is no change, there is no new provider in our file. That is why it is not doing anything, right? It is just reusing whatever the previously installed that thing, right? So now I would say tofu plan. So here you can see, can you see guys now? content, right? That the value has been rendered, right? It has been passed from the variable to our main file, var.filename. You can see this is the file name it will gonna create. As of now, there is no file called variable underscore file dot txt, right? And if you go to the content, right? So welcome to Path for Cloud. We are learning variables, right? We are good, right? And when you are good, right? So what you can do simply, you can pass that flag called auto approve so that it will not prompt you for your yes or no, right? But make sure it is recommended that don't use this flag if you are 100% sure also, right? In production, at least I am not using this, right? Whenever I am applying something, right, I always wanted to double check what exactly I am doing, right? So it is a good practice, and I would also recommend you guys to don't use this. But in test development environment where you will see that okay, if something goes wrong also, then also that you can bear set something, right? Then probably just to save your time, you can use this, right? So in our case, I'm going to use it. So you can see that it has created a new file called variable.learning files, right? So here you can see that this has already created, right? Now, if tomorrow, let's say you have this file, right? And this file is coming under, let's say, like 50 lines, you can say, right? Or maybe more than 50 to 100 lines is having in this main file, right? And this particular variable you need to use, let's say, around 10 or 20 lines, right? So that is the beauty, right? That is the leverage that variable will give you. You don't need to change that value in the 20 lines. What you need to do is you just need to change here, right? Where? In the variable.tf file, right? Because here I have already defined this variable. This is the value. I can change here and automatically when the new apply will be implemented, right? This new value will automatically go there and it will pass it. So that is the benefit like you are using your dynamic because if you are not using, right, so what you need to do, you would have go back and then you just update all the parameters value wherever you are using that thing, right? But since we are calling it via variable, so only one place we need to update and that value will automatically go there, right? So that is the thing, right? Let me show you one more thing. Let's say you are not passing anything value, right? For the content, right? Now for content, I have just declared a variable called content, but I'm not setting any value anywhere, right? In that case, what do you think that it will throw error or what? Right? So best thing is let's check it out and we'll see what will gonna happen. You can see that the moment you say tofu apply, it read all the file and it automatically say where.filename. It found there is a file called variable.tf, and here we have a variable called file name, and for file name we have the value, right? So it is fine. Now it come to here where.content and it go there. It asking, okay, content, give me your value. Content says I don't have any value defined, right? So what tofu now is saying, what to tofu is prompting for you, right? Okay, give me the value what you want to write. I am from prompt value, right? And you can see that one was destroyed and one was added. Why? Because previously the value was this, right? But now the value is changed. I am from prompt value, right? So that also a very good benefit of using the variable. If you are not sure, right? Or maybe you are thinking that okay, every time it is accepting or it is a requirement to give you a let's say that new thing, right, or new value. So you just define the variable, don't pass any value, and whenever you will apply, it will just pass that thing, right? Good. Okay, now come back to our notepad, and now we will discuss the precedence of the variables, right? This is the thing that we just discussed, okay, how you can do this and how it will be prompting for your user and all, right? But there is a thing that order of variable definition precedence, right? DENC. So in which order it will gonna prompt you, right? So first there is a something called environment values or maybe variables, right? Yeah, you can define a variable as an environment value, right? In the bash shell, like we are just setting some variable into the value, right? Same way you can set in the tofu as well, and whenever you are setting it, it will just give you that value a higher priority, right? Second thing is, let's say Terraform, or maybe you can just name it anything. Let's say path for cloud dot tf vars, right? So basically here it will just look the extension. If the extension is ending with .tf vars, it will give the priority to this file, right? Now the third thing is there is a something called auto.tf vars, and if I'm not wrong, it will also support auto.json, right? That is also supported here as a third priority. And the last one is the where or maybe dash where dash file. If you are defining some variable file or something, right? That way it will gonna give you that value, right? Path for cloud.tf and where hyphen where dot file. So that way it will give you that the precedence. Okay. So always to find out or maybe to understand in very well manner, right? Always just do a action with all these learnings, right? Just get your hand dirty, just spend some time on keyboard with all this, and it will be a very clear, right? So this we have seen already, right? uh, how it will be calling that variables and everything. Now let's create one more file and we will try to pass it for the variable values, right? So let's do it with this value only. How you can define that tf underscore var, right? And then you just need to give your variable name, right? And whatever the value you are setting, right? You can set it that value, right? So as of now in this file, if I take the example from the same file, I don't have any value for the content, right? Like if I apply again, it will gonna prompt me, right? Like what value you want to do, right? Here I'm say I am second prompt. Again it will gonna prompt. Again it will delete that destroyed and created another, right? Here you can say I'm second prompt. Fine. Now let's export it, right? tf underscore var underscore content, right? And I am from environment values. Fine, let's export it. Okay, so this is a PowerShell, so probably export is not a good keyword for this. So what we will do is I will use a git bash instead of this, right? So let me copy and let's come to our git bash and I will just say this one. It is done. Now if I apply here, okay, yeah, so tofu apply and yes. So now you can see it is gonna change I am second prompt to I am environment values, right? See the precedence, right? It will not checking that file, right? Because it is giving this value, right? It will, because see, as I mentioned, it will gonna check in this order. First, it will check whether that particular variable is set as some environment value. Then it will take it, whether it is defined in .tf or .json or auto.tf or maybe as a variable in the command line itself, or maybe as a /var as a file, right? Then it will take the same thing, right? But here it will find the value in the first attempt, and I would say yes. Now, if you go back to your file, let me minimize this. You can see I am from the environment value, right? Now let's do one thing. Again, I would say tofu apply slash where, right? So this time what I will do is I will say content equal to I am from command prompt, right? Let's run it. Now it is saying I am from the environment value, it is changing to the I am from command prompt, right? So you can see this time it is changing this because that is already passed to that particular environment value, right? So this is how it will be considering these all these stuff. If I would say yes, so you can see again it has changed to that I am from the command prompt, right? Let's do one thing. Let's create one more file here, path for cloud.tf wheres, right? That's I have created. And under this file, right, there is a one thing under this file you don't need to create that block, right? Directly what you can do, you can just pass this like this. I would say content, right? I am from path for cloud dot file. That's it, right? Let's save it. And now let's try to run one more time. This time it is doing nothing because we have like passing that variables in the command itself, right? But instead of passing, let me see if we can run like this. So here you can see it is I am from command prompt, it is changing to the I am the environment value, right? Because it is not taking this file because the first precedence is to environment variable, right? Fine. I would say yes. Now if I say unset tf underscore where underscore content, right? Now let's try to run. It is checking that variable dot file, right? Because there it is defined, right? That file it will go to that variables.tf file first and then it will come to the tf wars. So here also I would say hello and it will gonna change that to hello. Uh, this to hello, right? Force replacement and now it is asking me for the confirmation to apply that. Now it is done, right? Let's do one thing. Let's remove that variable file for a time being. But before that, what we need to do is we need to, or maybe let's rename to something, right? Let's try that way. Backup, right? Now it is not no more Terraform file or OpenTofu file, right? And let's try to run now. Oh yeah, obviously because we haven't defined our file name, right? So that is also because we are calling, right? We are saying that okay, call that where.file name, but nowhere it is defined, right? So let me define here file name equal to, and this is the file name. Fine. Now let's try to run one more time. That's a little weird. Okay, let me pause. Okay, so the problem was we need to keep this variable.tf file as well, right? Because it needs that file to understand, okay? Because variable.tf is the default file, right? And apart from that, there is a another way that you can keep your like environment value. We have seen that we have this file, right? Let's do one thing. Let's run this export one more time. And let's run tofu apply. Obviously, it will take our that uh, environment value, right? Let's change it. Now, I would say tofu. Let's run unset. Okay. Now I have unset it, and now if you run tofu apply, it will take from the variable.tf, right? Because here we don't have that value. Sorry, where it is this variable.tf, let me open. Here it is, right? Because this is not set. So obviously it will prompt me. Okay, you need to pass that value. So I am from prompt. prompt, and this is the confirmation. It has added, right? Now let's set that particular thing, export. Okay. Now let's run tofu apply slash where we have seen. Now this time I'm gonna pass that file tf wheres, and finally, so here you can see that I am from prompt, right? Now it is taking the value from path for cloud. I am from path for cloud value, right? Here you can see I am from path for cloud file, right? Now give the confirmation. So here you can see, though we have environment is already set, right? It went there, right? Then it went there, and then it will gonna check this, and then at the end it gonna check this, right? So now I'm saying, okay, get the value from this file, right? Now let's try to run without this. Again, I'm from the environment value because now it is going to the environment value first. So that is way that you can understand. This is how this what do you call it, that precedence it is happening for each and every environment of the variables, right? So yeah, I think that was the thing. I will upload this code, right? Maybe with some little text file information, like how this precedence, how this variable can be defined, how it will gonna pass it, and all this stuff, right? Yeah, I think in next class I will just put one bonus info where I will gonna discuss this, that value, if you want to define a value in different way, right? How you can define those values. Let's say you want to define the number, boolean, list, or map, right? And then how you can call those variables values in your main dot file, right? So that is the main important thing. So I will put that information in the next video, and then we'll see that what next topic we have. All right. So I hope it was informative for you. So please support me, guys, and share it with other colleagues who want to learn the OpenTofu or maybe the any other IAC tool, because this Terraform and OpenTofu is most demanding as of now, right? So stay tuned. We have a lot of things coming on our channel, and we will be happy and to learn, or maybe to learn with you guys, to teach you guys, right? All right, so I will meet you in the next. Thank you. Bye bye.